All right, here we have a 3D model of the sheep brain, and we'll try to identify some parts on it. So as for the meninges, what we're seeing here is the dura mater has been mostly removed. We still have a little bit of it up here, so you can see how shiny and thick that is. The rest of what we have here is as visible as the arachnoid, and it covers over the gaps here. So the gaps are called sulci, and the ridges are called gyri, and the arachnoid covers over those gaps. If we were to split along one of these sulci, we would actually cut through the arachnoid mater and be able to see the pia mater underneath that. All right, so most of what we're seeing here, so this entire portion here is the cerebrum, and it's made up of two cerebral hemispheres. So if we take a look at that, we see that there's two halves. Each of those are the cerebral hemispheres. All right, the olfactory bulbs, it's a little dark on the bottom here, but the olfactory bulbs are these bulges right here. One there, one there. You don't see the olfactory nerve because they are not visible. They are just the axons of the actual sensory receptors. All right, the longitudinal cerebral fissure, that's what this piece of dura mater is still in. So there's a fissure running between the two separate cerebral hemispheres. Corpus callosum we won't see yet. We'll see that later on. The piriform lobe is this section of the brain right here. The cerebellum is here. We don't have really great resolution on it here, but what we have is this middle part is called the vermis of the cerebellum, and then it has two hemispheres on either side. And if we look at the hemispheres, we can see it's made up of a whole bunch of flaps, and those flaps are the folia. Folia means paper or page, and it's kind of like a bunch of pages in a book there. All right, the hypothalamus is located on the bottom portion of the brain here, and it's mostly underneath this. So this here is the hypophysis or pituitary gland located right there. And then there's certain other characteristics underneath there that you'll have to look at the actual static video or the non-3D model video to take a look at those. The optic chiasma is where the two optic nerves kind of cross here. And the optic tract would be what's going into the brain. So it's the portion right here. Technically, this whole optic nerve is part of the brain. All right, the infundibulum, as I mentioned, not visible, nor are the mammillary bodies. They would be right underneath the hypophysis here, or pituitary gland. All right, that's about all we can see in this area. But one thing that you'll note, and you can see this in the other video, is that the tectum is located there, and it's made up of four bumps called the corpora quadrigemina. There's two superior colliculi and two inferior colliculi, and they're located right in that region right there. Oh, pons. So the pons is a swelling of the brain stem that is present in mammals, and that's this area right there. You can see how it's kind of widened downwards over the rest of the medulla. And that's the medulla coming in there and eventually leading into the spinal cord.